First of all, thank you for the invitation. I am not going to read, and I am going to have a problem because my English is really terrific. First of all, I want to say that Mexico doesn't have a democratic history. We have never been democratic. Even our constitution says that and defines what is democracy in Mexico. I think it took us from the revolution almost 100 years to make a reality the sufragio efectivo. No? Also, it took us more than almost 200 years to have an independent Congress. The first time we have an independent Congress during the epoch of Juarez, no? But really, in all the last century, we have a Congress completely dependent of the executive, of the President of the Republic. And the first time we have an independent Cámara de Diputados was in 1997. And in the year 2000, we have a Congress completely independent, no? Then we have not been a people, we have not been a country, we don't have a political class that really has a compromise with democracy. And it's very difficult to advance in democracy if you don't have Democrats. It's very difficult that our politicians normally, and I have been in Congress for 15 years, what they have been saying here is they have a compromise with his party, with what is good for his party, but not what is good normally for Mexico. Here's the problem of the Congress. What's the problem of the Congress of Mexico? Mainly the lack of independence of the senators and the diputados. You don't have to worry about what people think. You have to worry about what the president of your party thinks. That's important. Because if you want to continue, you have to have good relation with him, not with the citizens. And what is happening in Mexico really is that the difficulty of having agreements is because the lack of autonomy of the senadores y diputados. And what is re-election is very important. The leaderships of the parties are against re-election because then you have an autonomy that you can continue in your state. What happens in the United States, I think the senator that has been in his position for several years, there is no any leader of the party that could stop his re-election, his continued re-election. Then something that I think is possible and will give more opportunity to have agreements between the parties is to push to the re-election of legislators. And I think if we make a balance, these 15 or 17 years Mexico has changed a lot in the fiscalization of the government, in generally in the democratization of our political system. What we can do in the future, I think that is really the discussion. It's not if we have advanced or not. Of course we have advanced. Everybody, any one of us that know Mexico, is a completely different control of the power that we had before than the control that we have right now. But Mexico always, changes have been gradually. We have a saying in Mexico that in Mexico nothing happens, never happens, nunca pasa nada, never happens anything, no? Nothing. Until it happens. And when it happens, nothing happens. It's really, no pasa nada. That's something that is good for Mexico because we don't have extreme positions, we don't have catastrophic situations. I don't believe in catastrophic situations. I don't think that if we don't do this, Mexico is going to have a big problem. That's not true. Even if we don't do anything in any reform, Mexico is going to grow at 3.5% because our economy is completely related with the United States. And we are completely dependent on one of the strongest economies in the world. Then our problem is not if we are going to have a catastrophic situation if we don't do anything, if we don't have a complete change of the political system, or if we don't go to the parliamentary system. Nothing terrific is going to happen, but nothing extraordinary good is going to happen. And I think Mexico has a lot of opportunities that we have not had the capacity to aprovecharlas, to take advantage of them, because we have not made the changes. But what I want to say is, any catastrophic idea about Mexico, I have here catastrophic recommendations, and I have read a lot of articles, and that's not true. Something that Mexico has is stability, and I think it's the same situation right now. I don't believe that we are in a position or we go to a complete, profound reform, or we are going to have a great problem. I don't believe in that. I believe that it's good for Mexico to go to a profound political reform, because it will help the agreements between the different parties to make the changes that we don't have had the capacity of doing in the last year. I think that our main problem, from my point of view, is that we have a lot of changes at the federal government. A lot. We have an independent federal Congress, we have a Supreme Court independent, we have strong parties at the federal level, we have a media is very independent, completely independent at the federal level. But if you go to the states, nothing has happened. Even it's worse than before. 15 years ago, the president was the balance, and when some governor, let's say like the governor of Puebla, that you know about that, el gobernador precioso, no? The president of the Republic will quit him immediately. Now there is no any power that can take out that governor. Of the case of Oaxaca, or the case of Montiel, then they control also not just la Procuración de Justicia, not just the Procurador, the fiscal, also they control the Poder Judicial. If you go to the media at local level, it's the same. We have a lot of assassinations of journalists independent at local level, not at federal level. The other point of that I think we have to advance is in the case of the election, the great problem is the amount of money that you have to get to compete. And I have been, just 6 months ago, I was candidate from the federal district. If you want to compete, you have to ask money for all places. And I will say, 70% of what you spend, is not controlled by the Instituto Electoral. There's a lot of ways to spend money outside the regulation. Then something even more that we have to control the money we spend in the media, that is true. But I think what we have to control, I know how, is the amount of money that you need to compete. So what I think time is finishing, but what I want to say is we need reforms, of course, and we have to advance even more in the transition. We have made a lot, and we have a different system, completely different from it was 15 years ago or 10 years ago. I think we have to reduce the agenda to those things that are very important, as the ones I mentioned, probably should be and others, and overall, reducing the political agenda, I think we have to give more importance to the economic agenda and the social agenda. The main risk of our democracy is the poverty, is the lack of opportunities, is that half of the population, the young people, don't have any opportunity of job. I think that what we should decide as Mexicans is let's give more importance to the social and economical reforms, and don't repeat the error of the last years that all our discussion is the electoral reform, how we consolidate parties, how we consolidate the Congress, and not how we consolidate the way of living of the majority of Mexicans. Thank you.